शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोर् श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायिने कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूप स्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम्। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जन्माद्यस्य तोऽन्वयादितरतश्चार्थेषु भिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्म हृदयादि कवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः। तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। स्वस्ति अस्तु विश्वस्य खलः प्रसीदतां ध्यायन्तु भूतानि शिवं मिथो धिया मनश्च भद्रं भजतादधोक्षजय आवेश्यतां नो मतिरप्यहेतुकी। We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 9, verse 47. We are prayers of Prahlad Maharaj to Lord Nrsimhadev. And it's coming to an end now. So we read how in the previous verses he was explaining that people, they are looking for material happiness, but it only leads to suffering. Only thing is that they do not know this, and therefore they continue to search for happiness where it does not exist. He gave the example of like itch in the hand. So it is painful to begin with, but one experiences some sense of pleasure in it. And then there are others who perform some spiritual activities, fasting, meditating, study of Shastra, chanting of mantras and so on. All this, he says, also becomes a business if the person is not spiritually oriented. Ajitendriya means that his purpose is actually different. He only uses these things to gain some material profit. So, says this also does not lead to any spiritual benefit or higher goal. So then in the next verse he explains how people are unable to see him although he exists everywhere. Rupe ime sadasati tav veda shrishte बीजांकुराविविनचन्यद रूपकस्य युक्ता समक्षमुभयत्र विचिन्वते त्वां योगेन वह्निमिव दारुष्णन्यतः स्यात्. He says that all these forms which we experience as sat and asat, cause and effect, subtle and gross, they are all described in the Vedas. They are like the seed and the sprout, and they are non-different from you who do not have a material form. Yuktaha samaksham ubhyatra vichinvate tvam. But although they search you, but they do not find you. But those who are properly situated, who are yukta, they can see you just like one can produce fire from the wood. Because this material world in the form of cause and effect is not different from you. So there are both types of statements we find in Shastra, that this world is form of God and also it is not. So it is form of God because it is manifestation of His energy. He is the cause and this is the effect. And effect is not different from the cause. Effect cannot have an independent existence without the cause, and effect is always pervaded by the cause. So that's why it is said that this world is also a form of God's Virat Purusha, universal form. But many places it is also said that it is not. Idam hi vishwam bhagavani vetaram. This Vishwa, this universe, is like Bhagavan, like the Lord, but yet he is itara, he is separate from it, he is independent, different, he has his own existence. So Bhagavatam's philosophy is not pantheistic, that God has become the universe and has no other existence besides this. So therefore he is also different, because cause can also be more than the effect. One cause can produce something, but that does not mean that everything is there in the effect. So therefore one may not find him if one is not expert. Of course in the effect the cause is there, but cause also has its own existence. So it says yukta samaksham vihatra vichinvitotvam yogena van. So vihatra means in cause and effect, sat and asat, both he is there, like seed and the sprout. But one has to have the expertise to see him, just as one needs some expertise how to get fire from the wood. There is fire in the wood, but we don't see it unless you burn it. And when you burn it, then it comes out. So it is always there, but if you take a wood in your hand which is not burning, it will not burn you. You can sit on it. But actually there is fire inside. So like that, Bhagavan is there everywhere, in everything, but we do not see him because we do not know the process of how to find him, how to see him. Otherwise it says nanyataha syat, that nothing can exist without you or independent of you, and thus it is not different from you, because that thing which cannot exist independently cannot be different. something is called different, whose existence does not depend on something else. Otherwise it is not different. So when we see from the point of view of Bhagavan, then nothing is different from him, because nothing can exist. When we see from the point of view of this material world, then it is different, because it has things which happen, they don't influence him. The changes, the modifications which happen in the material world, the impurities of this place do not reflect in the personality of Bhagavan. So this is the philosophy of Achintya Vedanta. It is different, it is same, and it is Achintya. Achintya does not mean that we cannot understand it. We can understand it if we understand it from Shastra, but if we try to understand by our own self, then it says that you cannot find it. So that's why the word Achintya is used. So Shastraika Gamyatvam Achintya, which is known only from Shastra, that is called Achintya. So Shastra explains Janmadashyata Yato Vaimani Bhutani Jayante. So everything comes from him and also rests in him and ultimately merges in him. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti says, Varta Jivano Tatpraptistu Bhakti Yogam Vina Maunadibhir Naiv Bhavati Tiyaha Rupe. So finally he concludes about Bhakti Yoga. He says that it is not possible to find you, to know you, to experience you without Bhakti Yoga. So that is the key point, because it is only Bhakti Yoga which brings us in contact with God. Although He is there, He is inside us, we are in Him, but still we don't feel. This is the amazing thing, that we exist in Him, all our actions happen only in Him, and He is inside us. It's like the threads inside a cloth. Otam protam idam sarvam. And yet we don't experience Him, because the only way you can experience Him is to be with Him in His Swarup, that intrinsic potency of Antaranga Shakti. Otherwise it is not possible. So therefore only Bhakti Yoga can do that. Any other yoga will never give you an experience of Bhagavan. You can experience many other things. You can experience some power, some energy, some light, and do many things in the material world, but you cannot experience Bhagavan, Supreme Person, without Bhakti Yoga. So it is Bhakti, the energy which unites us with Him. It is the only thing which brings us in contact with Him. Otherwise we remain, because contact is not physical. It is not some Sanyog Sambandha or Samvaya Sambandha, any of these relations. So it is the Sambandha of love, which is the real Sambandha. But any other contact relation doesn't, just like you can live with some people and still not live with them. You may be physically with them, but your heart is not with them. So then you are really not with them. Because we are where our awareness is. So unless our awareness is on God, we cannot be with Him, even if we are sitting in His lap. So Asuras, they also saw Krishna, but they did not see Him because they did not have the bhav to see Him. So that's why everywhere it is said that it is only by Bhakti Yoga. Krishna Himself says, Bhakti ahame kya grahi. Only by Bhakti can I be comprehended, can I be grasped, realized, understood. Not by anything else. So this is what Prahlad says here, that you can perform all types of austerities which were described, 10 of them in the previous verse. Mauna vrata sruta tapa adhyaya swadharma vyakhya raho jab samadhi. You can even sit in samadhi and still not have anything to do, because samadhi is also a mental state. Adi vyadi samadhi, everything in the mind. And he is the Turiya, he is the fourth direction. So there you cannot go with anything material, only with bhav, only with bhakti. It is possible to approach Him, to reach Him. Nothing else can work. So ye rupe ime sadasati karya karane bijankuraviva pravahapanne samashti vashti tavaiva rupa. So he says that whatever you see here in this natural world, cause or effect, seed or the sprout, they are in a flow. Everything is in a flow here. One thing leading to another, another leading to another. So he says all this is your form because it is his energy. Nacha anyat samashti vyashtyatmakam vishwanidam. So he says this universe is not something different. It is a combination of various parts of the whole aggregate thing. Tvatto bhinnam na bhavati. It's not different from you. Arupakasya, because anything which is different has no relationship with the other one. So we are not like that. Yes, there is a cause and effect relationship. Supported, adha radhe, various types of relations in Nyaya Shastra. Arupakasya prakrit ruprahitasya. So he says that these are your rupa, your form, but you are formless. So obviously if this universe is his form, then how can he be formless? So therefore arupakasya means prakrit ruprahitasya, that he does not have a material form. And that's why we cannot perceive him with anything material. People say, if there is God, then show me God. So God is there, but you cannot see Him. Just because we do not see something does not mean that it is not there. Maybe we don't have the ability to see. There are many things we do not see. Science says that 96% of the universe is dark matter, dark energy. They don't see it. It's dark anyway. Let's see. You have to throw some light on it, and light they don't have. So they don't see 96% of the universe, they don't see. So just because we don't see does not mean that it is not there. So therefore Lord's form is invisible to us because His form is not prakrita. His form is not material like our form. Ato yukta vivekinaha Tvam ubhyatra samastau vyastau cha vichinvate praptum anvishyanti. So therefore those who are viveki, yukta, those who are wise people, who have the wisdom to penetrate beyond the veil of ignorance, then they can see. So hiranmayena patrena satyasya pihitam mukham. So the reality here is concealed by hiranmaya, by the glittering gold. So everything is covered, and therefore you cannot see. So those who are wise, who are viveki, they can see both in samasti and vyashti, in the aggregate thing as well as in the individual. They can know his presence, his existence. Yatastvam karanattvena ubhyatra vartase. Why? Because as a cause you exist in both samashti as well as vyashti, individual beings and the aggregate samashti. Everything is pervaded by him. Yogena upayena bhakti yogena na channito jnanam. So he says that you can only know him only by bhakti yoga. Again he is stressing this. And not by any other type of yoga. Because all other types of yoga, they work only on the material principles, material energy. It is only bhakti yoga which is transcendental, spiritual. So as Krishna himself says, bhaktiyaham ekaya grahya iti twadukter iti bhava. This statement from 11th Canto. Vanni pakshe yogena manthanena ateva bhaktya ityasya spashta sabdasya aprayoga. So when he gives the example of fire, so he says, Vannimiva, yogena vannimiva darushu nanyatsya. So he said, just like fire is there in the wood, daru, and it comes out only by churning. When you rub two pieces of wood, then fire comes out. So yogena upayena, that is the means. Ateva bhaktya ityasya spashta sabdasya aprayoga. Therefore, the word bhakti has not been directly used here. That is understood from the example. So, just like if you want to see the fire in the wood, then you have to get another fire. Or you have to make it hot, which is also fire. So bhakti also comes from bhakti. It's not something which is generated. And fire is already there in the wood. So Lord is already present. But unless you get bhakti, you cannot see him. It's like unless you have fire, you cannot see this fire in the wood. So therefore he says that manthanena ateva bhaktyas spashta sabdasya yoga. The word bhakti has not been used here. It is understood. Then in the next he explains more clearly how Lord is existing. Tvam vayuragnir avnir vyadambu matraha pranendriyani hridayam chidanugrahascha sarvam tameva saguno vigunas bhumananyatradasya manovatsa niruktam So he says Sarvam Tvameva. That everything is only you. Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahma. Saguno Vigunasya. Whatever you see, gross or subtle, Bhuman, O great Lord, Nanyat Twadasti Api Manovachsanam. There is nothing which is besides you, which exists here. So Vayu, Ragnir, Avnir, Vyadambu, Matra. These five tattvas: air, fire, earth, sky, water. Pranendriyani, Hridayam, Chidanugrahasya. The vital layers, the senses, the heart, and the chitta, and the anugraha, the deities which make the senses work. So he says it is all you. So the senses is also him. The sense object is also him. And one who perceives is also him. So everything is him. In between we think we are, and we create problem. So this is the Vedantic view. This is the Upanishadic view. And as we understand, Bhagavatam is the commentary, Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta Sutra is giving the essence of the Upanishads. So Neha Nanasti Kinchana Atma Evidam Sarvam Atma Etamyam Idam Sarvam. So many statements. Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahma. So Brahma Evidam Sarvam. Many places in the Upanishad it is said that all this is Atma, Brahman. Two common words used for Paramatma or Bhagavan. So Prahlad is speaking this directly now to Nrsimhadev that you yourself have manifested this. Therefore only you exist. So just like you have various types of energies, potencies, you may create something. So that creation is also you, because it is manifestation of your energy. So like that, it is the Lord. Uttamartham Vigrunoti Swamiti. So what was said in the previous verse, he explains it more clearly. The word Hridayam means mind, Hridayam mana, Chit, Chittam, Chit means the Chitta. Anugraha, Anugraha ko Devata Varga. Anugraha means those which bless. That is the deities of the senses, because senses function by their power. Sagunaha Sthula. Saguna means gross, Viguna Sukshma, subtle. Manascha Manovachaste Niruktam Prakashitam Kimapi Patto Nasti. So whatever we manifest through the mind, with the speech, so that also is not different from him. So it is not possible to express anything without his energy. Nete gunana gunino mahadadayo ye sarve manaprabhutaya sadeva martyaha Adyantavanto rugaya vidanti tvam evam vimrishya sudhiyo viramantu shabdat. So he says that all these gunas and gunis, the senses, for those who are functioning through them, none of them can actually know you. Nate gunana gunino mahadadeva. Or the material objects, evolutes of Prakriti, Mahat, etc., mind, and Sahadeva Martya along with the Devas or the living beings. Adyantavanto Rugaya Vidanti Hitvami. So they can never know you. Therefore, intelligent people, they keep quiet. Right? You cannot say anything. So, tvajganam tvad bhaktasyeva bhavet natu shastra adhyan buddhi kausaladi. So, only through devotion that one can know Bhagavan, as it was said, and therefore only devotees can understand who is Bhagavan. Otherwise, people, if they are not devotees, they can read Shastra, they can be very intelligent, they can write commentaries, but they will not understand who is he. So therefore there are various types of explanations given on Shastra, but only devotees understand truly. Yadi ete tvam ne vidanti tari taireva manobuddhyadibhi shastrani adhyayana adhyapanadibhir vicharya jiva katham gyasyanti. So if these people who are intelligent, learned, and they cannot understand, they with their mind, they are intelligent, then how can other living beings know you? By the study of Shastra, by teaching. Vimrishya shabdad adhyanadi vyaparad uparamanti. So therefore they understand and then they stop this from the use of the word in the sense that from the study of Shastra, because they cannot understand. Tathacha Shruti, there are statements in the Vedas, Kimartha Vayam Yakshamaha. For what reason shall we do the yajna? Nanu dhyayed bahun shabdan vacho viglapnam hitat. This smritischa. He says no need to study many books, because just misuse of the speech. Yadate moha kalilam buddhir vyati tarishyati tadagantas nirvedam shrotavyasya shrutasya. Says when your intelligence will get out from the mercy of the delusion, then you will go beyond what you have heard or what you may hear. You will become disinterested in it. So the purpose here is not that not to study Shastra, or Shastra is not able to inform us, but if we follow Bhakti, then we can understand. And then we also understand that Shastra is not about Yamimam Pushpitam Vacham, that flowery language. That is not the intention of Shastra. So a person stops from that. Viramanti means. That's why he says that for what reason we do yajna. Kimartam maya yaksham. And for what reason do we have to study all this Shastra described in yajna, etc. This is not going to lead me to anything spiritual. It's like you can study a lot of material knowledge, secular knowledge, science. It was not going to make it spiritually realized. So in the Vedas also there is a lot of material. Like all Purvimamsa is full of this. So then it says, what is the use of studying all this? So when one understands that, then one stops this. And one engages only in the devotional activity, hearing, chanting. So now finally he concludes his prayers. So the last verse. Tatte arhatam namastuti karma pujaha karma smritis charanayo shravanam kathayam sansevaya tvai vineti shadangaya kim bhaktim jana paramahansa gatau labheta. So he says, without performing seva through the 6 limbs described here, is it possible that someone can attain Paramahansa Gati, attain you? So he says that the 6 things which are to be performed is Namah, Stuti, Karam, Puja, Karam, Smritis, Charanayo, Shravanam, Katha. To pay obeisances to you, to recite prayers to you, to worship you, to perform physical seva, to remember your feet, and to hear your katha. So these are the sadangas of bhakti, 6 limbs of bhakti. It says without this it is not possible that one can attain the destination which is realized by the Paramahamsas, great devotees. So earlier he spoke about Navda Bhakti, 9 limbs, Ramanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smarana. Here he talks about 6, but those 9 come in 6. So Stutim Upsangharati concludes his prayers taditi. Yasmad adhyanadibhis tvaj jnanam na bhavet tasmad tvaj jnanartham agraham parityajya sarva purusharth sarasya tvat premana sadhanartham eva yateta itya. Since it is not possible to know you simply by study of scriptures, therefore there is no need to spend time with that. But one should engage only for the achievement of love, which is the essence of all the purushartha, all the achievable things. The ultimate essence of everything is love. So if money is purushartha, wealth is purushartha, not that money itself gives you something, but because you think that it will give you happiness. Love means happiness, ananda. So dharma also people follow, thinking that by following dharma I will be happy, I will not suffer. And kama, of course, directly. So ultimately the goal is happiness, but real happiness comes only from love of God and nothing else. So Jiva Goswami, this is how he presents his Priti Sandarbha. Talks about Purushartha in the beginning, and then he shows how the real Purushartha is Priti, Prema, love. Because anything else does not make you really happy. Even Mukti, without Bhakti, it is pale, it is dry. So naskarmamapya achyut bhavavarjitam nashogate jnanamalam niranjanam. So that naskarmam is also not very good. Means not very satisfying. It does not bring. It is nice, it is better than being materialistic. One feels certainly superior to materialistic people, but it is also not completeness. So that completeness comes only through Bhakti Yoga. So therefore he says here that the Purushartha is Prema. Premna sadhanartham eva yatet. One should work only for this. It is useless to work for anything else. What will you gain? Ultimately you have to come here on. You can wander just like a boat inside the ocean and there is a bird on it. So bird can fly here and there. Ultimately come back to the boat. Where she will go? She cannot go. There is no place to go. There is nothing. Cannot see any. Nothing is visible. So you can do all your effort and you have to come back and sit in the boat. So now you can try whatever you try, but one day you have to come to Bhakti Yoga. So if you have to come to this one day, why not come now? What is the big deal? So one should drop everything and think of this. Everything else we have tried in previous lifetimes, we have forgotten. Whatever you are trying to get now, you already got many times in the past. It never satisfied you. So there is no need to try for it. Sometimes people say that why we are suffering. We say you are suffering from karma. Says why we don't remember it. It will be good if you remember. Then you will not do wrong again. Well, that's not the point. People remember, still they don't do wrong. People go to prison, they come out, again they do crime. They remember I was in prison. Many people who go many times to prison. Not that somebody goes once and he never goes again. So it's not question of remembering, it's question of using buddhi. So buddhi says that I must have done all this. If we know that we are eternal, anadi baddha, and karma is going on one after another, then I must have tried everything. So, punas charvite charvananam. What is the point in chewing in which there is no juice? The guy has already put it in between the roller and he took out all the juice and then he throws and then you pick it up and you try to chew it. Right? Like the cow is doing. So the juice guy already took out all the juice from the sugar cane and then he throws it and somebody goes and picks it up and is thinking he's going to get something out of it. So it's a futile exercise. Sramayevahi kevalam. Only shrama, only labor, nothing else. So these material pleasures are like that. You try it, you have tried. Nothing comes out. So it's like trying to catch air. So you close your fist, nothing remains. More tightly you close, more it goes out. So therefore Prahlad says, my dear fellows, listen. He's not speaking this to Nrsimhadev. There is no point telling him. He's telling this to us and to his Daitya friends. So Daitya friends are here. Our mind is the Daitya friend. That is what Shastra speaks. This is the Parokshavad. It's not saying directly, otherwise people will not listen. Now you can listen nice story of Prahlad and Daitya, but actually he is telling this to us in a very nice way, so that you don't feel offended. If I tell you directly give up, then you feel offended. So he is telling like that. So he says, Tatte arhattama namastuti karma puja. Not very difficult thing he is saying. Namaskar. What is the problem? Stuti. No problem. Karma puja. It's also no problem. Smriti charaniya. Absolutely no problem. It didn't cost anything. None of these things cost anything. And Shravanam Kathaya, listening to Katha. Anything else you do, you have to pay. You go to a club, people go become member of some club, they have to pay fee, even if you attend or not. And they charge. Here, Bhakti club, free. So this is what Prahlad is saying, join the Bhakti club. They are Arhattama, so he is called Arhattama. Not only Arhata, in Jain they have Arhatas. He is Arhatam, the most qualified person. Namo Namaskar. So, number one, Namaskar. First thing. So, Nama. So, we are doing ma. I. Nama means not me. So, not me, but not me. Nama means not me, you. Otherwise, we are doing I, me. So, Nama means, that is the meaning of Namaskar. And Stuti Karma, so doing some prayers, Stavam, Karnam, Puja, Archanam, some puja, worship, Karma Paricharya, some seva, and Charanayo Smritischa, remembering Lord's feet, remembering Him. There's no problem with that. And Kathayam Shravanam, and hearing Katha. Easiest thing, don't have to do anything. Just sit and hear. So iti evam sadangaya sevaya bhaktiya vina tvai kim bhaktim premanam labheta. So he is asking, is it possible to get bhakti, which means prema, love, without this? Not possible. Naiv labheta ityartha. So no, not possible. Paramahansanam jnaninam gatir mukti yasyat tasmini. So that gati, that destination, that liberation which jnanis attain, that comes from him, from the Lord. So bhakti is to be done to him. So Lord is called here as Paramhansa Gati, or the goal of the Paramhansas, the jnanis. So bhakti not to someone else, but to him, because he is Arhattam. He is the most qualified, suitable person for performing bhakti, or to whom bhakti should be performed. Kathanchit bhakti misra jnanena muktimeva labhet iti bhava. So why the word Paramahansa Gatau is used here? And it said Paramahansa means Jnani. So he said that Jnani also can sometimes attain mukti, they mix it with bhakti. Otherwise, patanti adha anadriti yashmadamara aruye krishna param padam tati. So, those who think that they are liberated, they have become great, they have to come down. Tasmat sarva kritarthata mulatva tvat prem bhakti sampadanim shadangam sansevam eva sarvebhyopi dehi. So Prahlad is praying to Lord Nrsimhadev that please give your service to everybody. Your service which has these 6 limbs and which will bring prema, which brings all perfection. Sarva kritarthata mulatva sampadani prema bhakti. So he says this bhakti you give to everybody. This is his prayer to the Lord. So what he is saying is that this is what we should pray for. This is what we should look for. Although we have many ideas in our mind when we sleep at night, many thoughts come, desires come. But actually this should be our thought, at least the last thought before we sleep. And this is the only thing I want. And have this as your first thought when you wake up. At least close your day and open your day with this desire. In between you can wander here and there, but in the end come back home and then start from there. So we have to change our consciousness, we have to change our awareness. Nobody else is going to do this for you. And we say Bhakti comes by grace, but grace is not going to come without rest. We keep on sitting, it's not going to happen. If it happens, fine, but don't dream about it. So we have to do something, and doing is that we have to change our mindset, basically. We have to change our sankalpa, our goal, our desire, and this is actually what I want, and we have to be sincere about it from our heart. Otherwise we go and do prayer, the mind is going here and there. There's a story about Guru Nanak. He was getting very popular, so there was a local Muslim, small king or whatever authority. So he called him and said, "Why are you spoiling people?" He said, "No, I'm not spoiling people, I'm just teaching about God." He said, God? He says, "God is only one." So this guy said that, "Then will you come with me and pray in that mosque?" He says, "No problem." He thought that he is a Hindu, he will not enter the mosque. So he took him to the mosque for namaz. And then he started doing namaz, and Guru Nanak was just standing. So he already realized that he is not doing, he was already getting upset. But now what can he do? He has to finish his namaz. So he finished, and then he was very angry at Guru Nanak. He says, "I told you to do namaz with me." He said, "Yeah, I will do namaz with you. I told you I will do it with you, but you never did it. I was just waiting for you to do it. That's why I was standing and looking at you." And this Muslim ruler, he became very angry. He says, "What do you mean I didn't do it namaz? I was doing it." He says, "No, I saw you going down and up doing this exercise, but I didn't see you doing namaz." So he said, "What do you mean I didn't see?" He said, I saw you that you are buying horses in Lahore." Because while he was doing, this is what he was thinking. So he was able to read his mind. So when he said that, this guy realized that he is somebody. He immediately became humble and fell at his feet. He said, "You didn't do namaz, so what can I do? And I cannot buy horses with you." He says, "I'm not in that business, that I gave up long ago." So meaning is that we have to be actually sincere to ourselves. We can trick others, but what is the point in tricking myself? What is the big deal? What is the big fun in that? So that we should not do. And that's what actually we do. That's the problem. That's what we do, that we are deceiving ourselves in the name of spirituality, in the name of bhakti. So Prahlad says that do not do that. So he is therefore praying to the Lord that please give them this bhakti, because this will give you everything. Whatever you want and whatever you cannot even think of, you will get that. But we have to be willing for it. So we get scared. We are having some garbage around us like a child, and somebody wants to give a sweet. So the child is holding on to the garbage, but he cannot have the sweet unless he releases this, because the hand is occupied. So he thinks, how can I give this up? So we have to give that up. Then we become qualified to execute bhakti. So therefore he says, please bless them. So he is telling this to us, that this is what We have to pray, this is what we have to think. Sa durlabha chet muktimeva dattva sansar dukkhat tavat sarvanstrayashva. So now he gives alternative also. He says, if you think that bhakti is very rare, you will not give it. Muktim dadhati karichit smana bhakti yoga asti evam bhagavan mukunda. So he says, at least then give them mukti and make them free from the suffering of the material world. As far as I am concerned, aham tu tvad bhakta sevaya eva kritarthi krita eva varte itana kachit chintai. He says, I am already satisfied by doing service to your devotee. I have no worry. Because he already spoke about Tavadhritta Seva. That how can I give up service to your servant? Means he is already doing it. So, Katham nu visrijaya Tavadhritta Sevam. How can I give up service to your servant, your devotee? Which indicates that he is already fixed in his service to his Guru Sri Narada. So he is not worried, and therefore he is praying for others. So this is the end of his prayers. We'll stop.
Question.
Yes.
In the verse, the last verse, the stuti karma, that's one word you're taking it, and then puja is another word?
Yeah. Because karma is coming again.
Again, yes.
So obviously it cannot be taken independently.
But you could also say it's just a stuti by itself, that will be sufficient. But stuti karma.
I used to say stuti karma, probably sort of fit in the chanda.
These 6 items that Prahlad is mentioning here, they could also be done as namaz, in the nice story you told of Guru Nanak. They could simply be done as a physical act.
Yes.
Without the feeling, without the attention. This is why in the commentary on the verse from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that's defining Uttam Bhakti, they explain that these are the 3 key elements required in any action. There's the action itself, there's awareness, and there's feeling also. And also we see in the Bhakti Sandarbha that Jiva begins his whole analysis, simply with the word samukya. So that samukya seems to imply these 3 factors, and that unless all 3 of them are present, then we may also be selling horses in
Yeah, so this is a very important point that Prabhu is making, that this bhakti is actually the important thing is not even the external action, but what is inside, that feeling. So while commenting on the first verse, Jiva Goswami then he writes, then when you perform any action, and he's commenting on Anusilanam. So then he says that action is of 2 types, Pratyatmak, Nivrityatmak. And then he says that when they're further done with feelings. So that's why he's aiming at that. And then he says why the word Anukullana is used. Because Anusilan you can do without that also. And then he says that this Anukullana is not an uplakshana, but it is a visheshana. Lakshana is temporary, Visheshana is permanent.